basically off. And like I said, I had never dealt with that before. I've had friends that were veterans, and I've had relatives that served in the military, but I had never dealt with this. And we were working on a site actually at North Carolina Central University. I believe we were doing some appraising of some of their buildings, and I was doing more like the administrative kind of work, and I think they were going into the buildings and making estimates. But, he definitely went into a different kind of personality, and I'm sitting there going like, look, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with you, but I'm trying to not put myself in the face of some sort of danger since I don't know what's going on in your mind.
Right. It happens, and dealing with, post-traumatic stress disorder can be very difficult, especially having it, and then for people to understand that, no, you're not going crazy. There's some things that you have seen in your life that qualify under their version of trauma, and it's difficult. So
exactly. You never know what's happening to that. Now, another topic that came up in our family gathering when we were together on, I think it was on Thanksgiving, and it's actually in the paper today, was I had almost forgotten. I knew that I had had this experience in school, but I forgot that it actually lasted for about 2 or 3 years in elementary school. And I thought it happened for one reason. I then learned that it happened for another reason. I thought that I was being a protester or something like that, but it seems like there was other reasonings that my parents had for homeschooling me. So I was actually homeschooled for about 2.5 years, and there's an article in the day that says that North Carolina non-religious homeschools are growing faster. So apparently my parents might have been on top of something in terms of trends way back when, because I think that was back, we moved to Warrenton when I was in the 5th grade. So I believe I was in the either 5th or 6th grade when I got back into the public school system, but it seems like I was not in the public school system, but was being homeschooled for about 2 or 3 years. And like I said, they said that religious-based homeschools still make up the majority of registered homeschools in North Carolina, but their percentage has been steadily dropping. Secular homeschoolers are now outgrowing religious homeschoolers, helping to fuel the continued rapid increase in the number of homeschools in the state. So the reason for, one person said, the reason for us homeschooling is not to instill some sort of like worldview foundation that Christy Bates, a longtime Raleigh homeschool parent and a member of Homeschool Explorers, a support group for secular homeschoolers in the Raleigh area. It's more for a love of learning from a foundation and doing that whichever way works for our kids at the time. So here in North Carolina, they're estimated 135,749 students were homeschooled the last school year. While that is less than 8% of all the K through 12 students statewide, that is still, it looks like a little bit of an increase. So I'm going to see what else they've got to say about that. But it does look like they're saying that was definitely a little bit of an increase. So do you do a lot of homeschooling over there in Jersey from what you've heard, or have you ever thought about homeschooling any of your kids, or has your folks thought about homeschooling the grandkids?
My son is 21, so he's no longer, he's already graduated from school. My granddaughter will be 2 next Wednesday. So, that's something that they'll have to talk about as far as how many are homeschooled or what have you. I don't have that information because I never really, stayed on top of that. And, I mean, like I said, my son graduated from high school, 3 years ago, wow. 2015. So, like almost 3.5 years now. So I don't, I never thought about it. I don't know. It's a new concept. I mean, I went to a public school, so I don't know if any of my friends were, I think 2 were homeschooled, and everybody else between public school and private schools, that's where we ended up getting our, secondary education. So, I mean, I guess it's different now.
Because here in North Carolina, they actually made it a comparison between homeschool and the private schools, because that's actually what the rest of the vote was. It says that while that's less than 8% of all the K through 12 students statewide, they say that more children are homeschooled than attend private schools or charter schools. And I know that charter schools have been very popular, particularly with some folks trying to do more Afrocentric charter schools and things that are more geared toward one kind of thought pattern or another. But, yeah, apparently there is more homeschool folks here in North Carolina than attend private schools or charter schools, according to what this article is saying. It says, historically, homeschooling has been dominated by the religious families, particularly evangelical Christians. But apparently that is because it says in the 1988-89 school year, 78.3% of the state's homeschool registered with the state to operate as a religious school. That percentage has now dropped to 58.5% religious and 41.5% secular in the 2017-2018 year. So it looks like it's definitely going on, and there's even like a whole thing about how it's going nationwide. Because it says it's unclear what the percentage of secular homeschoolers is nationally, kind of what you just said about your growing up and everything. But it says the Virginia-based Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Man, everybody's got a legal defense association. There's North Carolina is one of that asks homeschool to identify as religious or secular. So apparently North Carolina is one of the few that ask people to identify whether they're doing it for religious reasons or secular. And for the first time 2 years ago, the number of now new secular homeschoolers in North Carolina was greater than the number of religious homeschoolers. The state has added 6,386 independent homeschools compared to 5,714 religious homeschools over the past 2 years. So looks like folks are asking about that, and they actually asked a very interesting question. So it says traditional public schools should ask why educational reasons and not religious reasons are motivating a growing number of parents to homeschool their children. So they're asking, it might be the fact that folks are not spending what they think they should be getting in the public school system. And I believe that's probably what my parents were thinking about, was that we weren't learning enough about some of the things that we need to be learning about our own history and things of that nature. So I'm imagining that that's probably the reason that a lot of folks are going into the homeschool system, because they might feel that they can do a better job of teaching their kids than what is being taught on the school system, because as we all know, that a lot of times the school systems are geared toward placement tests. So that might be part of the reason that's pushing people toward getting into homeschooling and finding out that that is an alternative to have them actually do some concrete learning.
That's very true, and you can show your children some other things that the schools may or may not show them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I'm sure there's some things that are going on, even in our societies, that the schools don't want to touch, or even just parts of history that the schools are not doing a good job of touching. So they might be finding out that they want to find ways to get more and more people involved in the whole homeschool kind of attitude and things of that nature. Now,
right.
You know, we talked about, another thing we talked about on this show is the monument. And apparently the car building in Chapel Hill will be changing its name. So that was named after Julian Carr. Apparently Julian Carr has some deep history as being involved with the Confederacy and racism and things of that nature. So they did vote that they were going to change the name of the car building. And apparently earlier today, even though I haven't looked online to see what the results were, they were actually thinking about recommending a new home for Silent Sam, the Confederate monument that stood on UNC Chapel Hill's campus for 105 years until August, when protesters yanked it down. So it looks like they might be thinking about putting that in the museum or putting that someplace else. But definitely, the car building will be changing its name. There's even talk of Carborough possibly changing its name, because it is named after Julian Carr as well, which is a town just a little bit to the side of Chapel Hill. So they're talking about changing their name as well and being about doing this. So there's definitely some pushback against getting some of these names changed that were named after people that had less than reputable reputation.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So it's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out and whether more happens. And, even at the Haytop building, there is actually one of the murals there. I mean, not murals, but one of the stained glasses. Apparently, Mr. Carr gave some money to what was at that time the St. Joseph's Church, and he got a mural in his name, just like Mr. Duke got a stained glass in his honor. So I'm wondering whether those names are going to have to be moved or changed or whatever, but it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, it will be, but you know what? And on the flip side of that, shout out to Brooklyn, New York. because they are going to erect a statue of Shirley Chisholm in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, yes. The woman that ran for president and was doing it way before Barack did it. And I actually had a friend of mine that made a movie about that run, and it was a lot of controversy during that time. I'm sure Nixon was not a happy camper and others. But I need you to do us one other quick favor. I've got to do one of those things, sometimes even on our blog, things happen with nature. So I need you to put up some music, and I will take care of that, and then we'll be right back.
All right, no problem, bro.
Are you looking to make your next event sizzle? Then you want to get in touch with Lee Entertainment. Mark Lee, the founder of Lee Entertainment, has worked with such notable festivals as the Art of Cool, the National Black Theater Festival, the Bull Durham Blues Festival, and the Durham Centerfest, as well as the Festival of the Eno. And it definitely can provide you with some great entertainers as well as help you make your event sizzle if you're looking forward to trying to have an event in your town. Mark Lee is willing to travel anywhere in this country to make your event sizzle and has entertainers that are also willing to travel as well. So if you're looking for quality entertainment, definitely get in touch at bluesradio@gmail.com.
Bass players, best thing you can do for your overall sound. You've got to see this. New Basstone Incorporated makes Nightwalker bass guitar tube preamps. This preamp will give your sound such a boost, it's just incredible. Try it today. Try it today now. A great sounding bass guitar will make for a great sounding band. Make your band sound at its best. Best thing you can do for your bass guitar sound. NewBassTone.com. NewBassTone.com.
All right, we are back. It's Straight Talk with Dean and Mark, ladies and gentlemen. This is it, right here on blogtalkradio.com. What you got going on, Mark?
I'm back. Like you said, sometimes Ice-T, I love it, but it doesn't always like me. So I'm back in, everything's back in a good situation now. So we're back in full force. I did find an article. We were talking about Mr. Bush earlier, and I found an article about his passion and everything. So I want to share that with some of our listeners as well. And on one of the articles, part of the article, which apparently was published by the Associated Press, said that Bush's crowning achievement as president was assembling an international military coalition that liberated the tiny oil-rich nation of Kuwait from invading neighbor Iraq in 1991 in a war that lasted just 100 hours. So perhaps one of the shortest wars of all time. And he also presided